Welcome. I'm the Parliament Raven. Welcome. Pull up a seat, pour yourself a cup of tea. My name's Jason Rodriguez, and I'm the Parliament Raven. And today we're going to pull back the curtain and take a look at behind church as a business, coming home to family. And what I want you to do is to either close your eyes and imagine or put your glasses of imagination on and walk with me as we exit the parking lot and enter the scene. You're greeted by two people with pamphlets, and you're looking around, and there's flat screen TVs everywhere, flashing slides that tell you about meeting times and a local project here. There's the sound of brewing coffee to the right. You can smell it in the air. And to the left, you can see racks of merchandise. Probably a church saying, "Holy, holy, holy," over the hill church. And you get in and you are sat down, and somebody smiles at you and they hand you one of those pamphlets, and the greeting feels less like arriving at home and more like entering the business as a customer. Like going into an old Bose store or even an older version of Apple's product. I mean, if you don't get a pamphlet, you'll definitely know the person. They'll have a lanyard on and a shirt. Maybe it's a blue one. Who knows? Is this what Jesus meant when he said he's calling us his people, his body, his family? Look, I've talked about church throughout. Go all the way back to season 1. There's definitely an episode about complaining. But I need to remind you, and I guess where my mindset has changed since 2021 in those days of my early podcast, that the Bible is not a brand. I want you to think of the Bible as a family history. And that means the church is not this corporate entity or strange club. I sometimes think of it as a club, but it should be more of a family. The scripture is a story about people, not about a holy product, get well, be successful, health, wealth, and happiness. Israel is not a religion. It has always been a family chosen by God to reveal him to the world. And Christians are grafted into that people. We're not a religion. We are a people. And being grafted into that heart and that mindset, and that thing should change how we treat one another on the basic foundational level. Deuteronomy 7:6 says, "For you are a people holy to the Lord your God." And Exodus 6:7 follows up, "I will take you to be my people, and I will be your God." We are in a spiritual heritage that has an inheritance system, right? We are inheriting a family that goes all the way back to the foundations of the world before the flood, before the destruction of our first maladies and the consequences of those, back to the beginning, to the very first two. Romans 8:15-16, "You have received the spirit of adoption as sons and children, as if they were heirs." We are heirs. They are heirs. You are then heirs. How do I emphasize that? And so if we are a church that is a family, we need to shift our mind lens from being more of this body of or club of believers, right? There's other clubs that people have joined. You could join the horrible club of being a Raiders fan. And look, don't leave bad messages about that, but I'm not a Raiders fan. But, the Raider Nation. There's other ones. You could be a Rams fan or a Dodger fan. Or you can go through the list. And there's definitely this camaraderie, this mindset, and this focus that turns you into this club or group that have beliefs. My team's the best. We're going this way. We're all going to wear this shirt, these colors. And sometimes we're starting to see that as a body of believers in the church. We can magnify what it means to be a business, and maybe you can see, maybe take a step back and talk with your leaders or pastors if you feel this way. When testimonies become marketing, that's a problem, right? People are hard work for victories. For, how do I put this? Those hard victories are not to be sold to push you, your pastor, your church into the limelight. These stories are not about becoming content, but they should be in celebrating a sibling. It's more even this, it's not our stories to share, right? Sometimes people want time to reconcile that they have joined the family. Here's a good example. Think about an uncle, and I don't have an uncle like this, but an uncle who has struggled with alcoholism and gets set free, and that's their testimony. They're doing it right. It's been 5 years, and they haven't really told much about family. And then rather than letting them tell people, someone in the family texts everybody, right? Our uncle is no longer an alcoholic. Look and check it out. And sends a picture of all their markers from AA, their coins, year 1, year 2, year 3, for 4, year 5. And the uncle did not have time. He's caught unaware, and he's become content for the family. It's the same way with testimonies in the church, right? The testimonies are not content. They are the stories of our brothers and sisters, and we need to honor that. Pastors becoming CEO. I could list, I think, of mega pastors. I'm going to throw out no one's name because I don't want to be in the limelight with them. But there's pastors who are in Texas. We can use the state. And they own a huge mega church, and they run everything, and they have their own guard, and they have their own product line, and they run everything down to the last T, and nothing changes without them. And when they are gone or they fall, which I've seen plenty of, then the company falls with it. In this case, the church, right? And I'll give you an example. Look, you could be at a small church as this could happen. Here's some examples. Staff meetings that look like corporate strategies, sermons that feel like brand pitches, and successfully measured metrics of attendance, giving, and other things. For instance, how much tithe we're getting, the metrics of how many people we got on reoccurring tithes, right? I always think about that in the sense of, if we are a people of faith and a family of faith, then yes, it's okay to tell need, but to overemphasize that it's part of the spiritual journey to continually give and not just put it by faith rubs me the wrong way. I was raised in a church originally where the boxes were in the back and no money was ever asked for unless a project was coming. And once the project was mentioned, it was not mentioned again unless there was an update 6 to 7 months later or somebody requested an update. Or you could, nowadays, you can even just post the updates on the church website. I think it's not important. Yes, if a family is doing something and they're building something together, obviously I expect that to be shared. But if this is a consistency just to keep the doors open, is it family or is it a business? When members become customers, you think of membership, right? There's a membership class. Here's your membership hammer or membership card or membership mug or membership shirt or membership pin. Welcome to the club. Here are the benefits. I just think it's weird, right? You sign up for programs, you sign up for worship services that are more like concert experiences than seeking the face of God. There's lights and smokes and flash and boom and bang and bam. And yes, that can be okay sometimes, but all the time, what are we, what are we, right? What are we doing? And lastly, when finances or the loss of membership overshadow truth, that's a problem. It means that we're relying more on marketing and getting seats filled than the than preaching the word. If God is in it, it will thrive. If God is not in it, it will definitely fail. And sometimes God may not be in it, and you just have a great corporate club that you've created with a attendance fee and a lot of customer service experiences and programs. Matthew 6:21 goes, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." Right? Where your treasure is, there your heart to be also. So what does family feel like? What does spiritual heritage lived out looks like? Does it look different? I would hope so. I would I direly hope so. Family shared Acts 2:42 through 47. They devoted themselves to fellowship, and they were selling their possessions and distributing the proceeds to all, and none had needs, and they were breaking bread in their homes, and they were visiting the sick when they were sick, and they were helping the kids that were running amok while the parents are sick in bed. They're visiting those who went to prison and seeing how they were and checking in on those who were not believers but family members of those. The list goes on and on. They didn't attend church, they belonged to one another. Family bears each other's burdens too. Galatians 6:2 states, "Bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ." We don't outsource that to church programs. It was a lifestyle. We bared each other's burdens together. Whether in today's society that might look like a home group attached to a church, absolutely. That might look like pastors talking with elders who are leading these churches and finding out the needs of those people and disseminating the necessary need. Maybe even getting the head group of leaders calling these people. I remember one time being at a church and going to a small group, and the small group started to implode, and I heard that my name crossed the pastor's lips, but I never received a message or a phone call or an email asking if I was okay. I mean, on the other side of it, look, I'm okay. But I found that to be interesting and weird. If that's the case, why should I continually sit? This isn't family. What's going on here? And I had to readjust and think about it. Family is identity, who we relate to. Jewish people call themselves Jews. Christ followers should call themselves Christians, but not as the same way as a religious belief, but as who we are as a people, right? And you will know them by their actions. Justin Martyr messaged with Emperor Marcus Aurelius Caesar and said, "Don't judge Christians by who are calling themselves that. Judge them by their actions and deeds." And then he gave them a list. He gave them parts of the word and said, "These are what you should look for. Is what highlights these fellow family members of mine." And so, and this is no judgment. This is just a metric. We're moving into a time where we need to metrics ourselves in the sense of, are we being family or are we being a corporate business? Are we being a model that's trying to keep the doors open, or are we being a model that's trying to reach and harbor our family members? Coming home, you want to be there without a wall or condemnation, or without having to feel like you have to drop $100 bill in a basket to help them, or sign up for auto draft every for 10% of your paycheck every month. From the abundance of the heart, the mouth flows, and also from the abundance of the heart, one gives. There should be no need. There should be a desire to give. My tithe goes to people who are in action, family members who are in action. So, you remember business needs customers, but church needs brothers and sisters. And programs aren't evil. Coffee shops aren't sinful, but they replace relationships when we trade in the birthright for branding. I talked to my friend Bishop, and maybe I'll put a link in here so you can see his stuff. But me and the Bishop, we talk about how we want faith to be a lifestyle rather than a church, and he's doing it in his church. They're a close community. They eat and break bread together. They have a garden where they're growing food for one another. They're supporting each other's businesses. The men meet and help the boys grow into manhood and set standards for them. And the ladies meet and do all sorts of cool things like family members used to. Like when my grandma taught me, or my grandfather taught me, or my dad or mom taught me things, right? This lost culture of passing on generational knowledge and theology, right? That all of that should be intermingled together. If I was born a Jewish person, I know how to fluently speak Hebrew as I would have been taught from a young boy. I would have had a bar mitzvah, and I would have celebrated Hanukkah and Purim, and I could go through the list. And that's our heritage, right? A heritage of growing together and passing on knowledge and sharing insight for success, and to give tzedakah, to give charity and justice and faithfulness and righteousness, and pass on those things to one another as family members. And when a marriage breaks up and a family member is in dire strait and kids are in dire straits, we come around that and we help that. That's what family does, right? John 13:35, by this all people will know that you are my disciples, and if you have love for one another, right? People will know if we have love for one another. Not branding. It does not say marketing. It does not say production value. It does not say a huge church, comfortable chairs, QR codes, in a brand label of clothing. Love is what defines us. So, practice. Look, I can't bring change. The change is brought by you. I'm a change bearer only in the areas in which I am at. And maybe this is definitely one of those areas. So the challenge of the week, family practice, personal challenge. Invite someone to your church into your real life this week. Coffee in your kitchen, dinner, pray together, go for a walk. Help with a chore. I remember in some of my previous churches helping people to move, or going over and doing their dishes just because. Share life. Don't just attend together. And by that, even that once a week thing where you call a house church or a growth group, or labels go on, that's still not attending life together. I remember a time where I could message people at my church and I'd get a response, and it wouldn't take 2 or 3 days, and I wouldn't be forgotten in the mishmash. And maybe I'm expecting too much, but I try to respond immediately or as soon as possible if a believer or a family member gets to me via text message or a phone call. And that should be a proper expectation, since we are family. If you're listening in your community challenge with your small group or your friends, carry someone's burden. Meals for someone who's stressed out or grieving, rides for those who don't have it, gas money, babysitting so a couple can go out on a date. Prayer in person, not I'll pray for you. Pray right then and there. Don't outsource your love, live it. Ooh, let me say that again. That's good. Don't outsource your love, live it. So let me wrap things up here. I'm starting to write these little wrap up things at the end this season. So we don't need bigger stages. We need longer tables. We don't need more programs. We need more open doors. We don't need customers. We need family, fathers, sons, mothers, daughters, cousins, uncles, aunties. I have a lot of aunties and a lot of spiritual moms. So, pour yourself another cup. Sit a little closer because we are the household of God. And remember, I don't know how this algorithm thing works, and I'm working on it, but hit like or subscribe. Send it to a friend. And remember, stay curious, stay grounded, and keep walking the path with intention. If you'd like to go deeper, the Parliament doesn't end here. We have a Patreon where you can access extended teachings, reflections, and tools. The conversation continues in our Discord where seekers, creatives, and thinkers gather to discuss just about anything. And if you want gear for the journey, you'll find shirts, mugs, and more at the Parliament shop. All the links are in the description below. Thanks for walking the road with us. We'll talk again soon. Some ending music credits. Intro music by Russ Budgeon. Outro music by The Parliament Raven. Music arrangement by Seno AI.
Not failures. Bring your fears, questions, maps, not mistakes. Bring your quiet